Hi, world. Hi. Hi,
Welcome.
world.
Oh, I'm hearing myself.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
Welcome.
world.
Wait, okay, there we go. Calm. Hi, world. Hi, I'm DM Dan. Welcome to Explorers of Elsewhere's Tales from Elsewhere. Hi. We've had an event-filled first half. It was so stressful that Dan here just had to leave.
He's back now.
He's back now with some comfort food. No, we've had a very energetic first half, and hopefully we're going to carry on into the second half. Hello, Chris. Hello in the chat. We also had our first raid moments before we went on break. So thank you, Raldanash and Co, for coming in and saying hello. Much appreciated. First off, we've got Nate, Livy, Georgia, Dan, and Theo. Hello.
Hello.
You've successfully managed to escape from a crumbling lava-y temple after battling off a giant lava worm called a Skullmaga. Vanier is deeply upset that yet another creature covered in glorious raw materials has just been swallowed up by lava, but them's the breaks. The five explorers have barreled out of the collapsing temple back into the kind of the plains of Merethesos, the volcanic wasteland that they find themselves in, and yeah, I reckon it's high time that we check in on them. How's that sound for everyone after a little intro video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on then.
Yeah.
All across the unknown world, rediscovery pushes ever onwards to find the lands and people lost. All thanks to our brave explorers.
Hi, I'm Dan, and I'm playing Vanya, the Wolfkin Warrior.
Hey, I'm Livy. I'm going to be playing Rayri, the Spirit Ranger.
Hi, my name's Theo and I'm playing Cal, the Sangvar Guardian.
I'm Georgia, and I will be playing Alfric Stormhorn, a Dragon Scent Bard.
Hi, I'm Nate, and I'm playing Azakar, a Majani Seraph.
And my name is DM Dan, the GM in these adventures. The further we go, the more we learn of these magical tales from elsewhere. And so, we find the five of you coughing and spluttering as dust fills your lungs, having dust that's just billowed out of the collapsed Temple of Naravid, the Doomsayer. But as the five of you plus Vinny crawl away from the site, or away from the mountain face, the dust and debris is replaced with fresh air. As you gather yourselves and pull yourselves up, you find yourself appearing, like scanning the plains in front of you. The geography of Merethesos is curious, certainly. You know that underfoot the terrain is comprised of the sort of like the overlapping slow kind of bulbous flow of magma flow, but the surface of this volcanic rock has been carpeted with this luscious orange moss-like growth. And as the five of you look left, look right, look to the horizon, and realise that it will be almost impossible to tell what way is home, who breaks the silence? and how are they feeling about how things have just panned out?
I think just like Riri just kind of gets up and she's just like completely covered in ash and debris because she's only wee, so she's just kind of like shakes herself off like a dog. Vinny shakes himself off like a dog. They're both just like and just sort of hands on hips, just kind of like, well, I don't really know what we do now. We got a plan?
We are still alive, at least.
I mean, that bloke went off with the stone, didn't he? So I don't really know what to do now. Just kind of
It's
looks.
not. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Just kind of looks. Just.
Yeah. Vanier sniffs the air and looks around, trying to almost like move away from the initial frustration of the situation and go into survival mode. He's like, I've traveled my whole life on all sorts of terrain. The first thing we need to do is tend to our wounds. Eat, recover, find somewhere safe to hole up. Then we can figure this all out. And I start looking for, because we don't know the area. I'm looking for a good vantage point, somewhere high that maybe we can find somewhere to make camp and to regroup and to get some sort of sight on the overall terrain.
Okay. So Vanier, I should probably make a note of this. So Vanier's looking for sort of like high ground, like vantage points to set up a bit of a home base. So you've got that, if nothing else, primarily. Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. Now that with the thrill and adrenaline having now somewhat worn off, where's Azakar at?
Sort of tending, sort of holding sort of like his leg from where he was sort of thrown by the big worm. He's trying to get his thoughts together. They're rushing quite fast. Mm-hmm. Of this, Gannis has escaped. Gannis has something that he believes is going to cause harm to people. He back in the fight, he felt like with his prayers not working, he's kind of just trying to gain his composure, but he's breathing very heavily, like it's a struggle to really try and take in what has just happened and what is happening and how he can take control of it. You know, when you just try to take control of it and you think too much about it and you start really like thinking too much, it makes you panic too much. That's what he's starting to get into. Okay. He's starting to lose that composure that he feels quite proudly about.
And how would you argue that you're attempting to keep that bottled, like keep that restraint? Is the keeping the lid on it a strain for you right now?
Yeah.
What is going on with Alfric.
I think he's having, well, I mean, when is Alfric not having a crisis? But that was his first time experiencing anything to do with the war. Back there in the sort of the dream memory that we were all in. Until then, he was very sheltered to do with anything to do with what was going on outside his family estate. And I think in his mind, he sort of built it in the same way that he did all of his marvelous adventure books. But to actually experience it, and to fail to save someone, which was a very small moment in the chaos, but it happened for him. And to then have the only spell that's kind of seen him in good stead currently fail, as most other spells sort of have for him. I think he's not on a very good foot at the moment. His hands are shaking. I think he's holding back tears a little bit. And he's lost his tent.
I tried to get you a tent and then I wasn't allowed. They said, "Oh, get it later." Oh.
Okay. So Alfric's having a bit of a inner crisis.
He's just not entirely sure he's actually supposed to be doing this.
How is Cal feeling?
Cal is feeling... I wouldn't say he's quite the same level as Azakar, but if anything, he's feeling numb. Like, he is just feeling like all the emotion he initially had, all the anger, all that frustration has just dulled into like how he used to operate in the war, which is just in a very numb state. And he is just trying to work through his feelings and what needs to be done. And he's like, it's taking him a while because it's not a state he's been in a while. So like hearing Vanya talking about, finding shelter and figuring stuff out when we find somewhere safe is very much in keeping with his own feelings, because at least then he can maybe try and get out of this zone. But at the moment, like if you look at Cal at the moment, he looks like he's in commander mode. He doesn't look like usual Cal. Usual Cal may crack a smile or seem a bit more like, for people who know him, which is this group, whilst he can be stern-faced, it's like a resting stern face. Everyone knows he can give you a smile or a pat on the back or whatever. He's usually chipper in his own way. But at the moment, there's a sense of he's not the Cal you usually know, which is why he's not really responding. He's just feeling very, very numb.
I think as this is all kind of I think, you know how you feel as a kid when you're like, you can tell that your parents are angry and you don't really, like, I think Ravi just feels all of that, where she's just like, everyone's upset, but I don't really know what to do, and I don't know if, like, what to say, and like they're the ones that are meant to be taking control of the situation, but they're not emotionally available at the moment. So I think she's just kind of her and Vinny are just kind of shuffling their feet, just kind of looking around, just trying to make themselves busy. Just like sees that like Vanya's gone to look for something, and she's just kind of like, oh, see if I can find anything, and just kind of wanders around just to see if she can find firewood or a tent or anything.
I think seeing that, like, Vanya, for all terms and purposes, although he's not the most well versed with words, but he's got quite a good instinct and insight, and he's picking up on everyone's inner demons fighting with oneself, and he sees Rayri like, and I think Vanya would just put a hand on Rayri's shoulders, like, let's get through this first, eh? Why don't you help me find somewhere safe? You're good with the sort of thing I'm good at as well. Let's find somewhere. And he turns around to the rest of the group, is like, I know you're all feeling all sorts of pain right now, but we need to find somewhere safe first so that we can deal with our emotions and eat and sleep. Let us find somewhere first. We can do this.
Azakar, how, with everything that's happened over the past 30 minutes, an hour tops, how does it land with you when Vanya tells you that we just need to keep check of our... When Vanya starts talking to you about emotions and what we should be doing and shouldn't be doing, how does that land with you?
Azakar's gonna shoot him a glare. He's gonna rush up to him and he's gonna grab him by his coat. Like obviously Vanya's a big guy. He's gonna try his best to sort of just like bring him to like his eyesight and just kind of say, you were supposed to watch him. It is your fault he's escaped. It's your fault. People are in danger now. It's your fault we're here.
Take it easy.
No.
I get that you're pent up with anger. And I get where you're coming from.
No, it is you. You are foolish.
I think Baby's just trying to like get in between them.
Look, I am all for having a spar anytime, but I value you as a friend, as the rest of you are. I know we are all in a bit of shit right now, but this is not the time to lose our head. And you can feel the wind and icy gauntlets flare as Vanya is also keeping his anger in check.
Ravi, as you're like wedged between the two of them trying to break them up, how's this landing with Cal? Seeing this kind of colleague insubordination, this friction between this so-called close unit.
Yeah, I think actually in a way it is kind of breaking that numbness a bit, because it's something he does understand. And he can also see, because he stepped away from it, so these two very strong individuals are butting heads, and then there's Ray obviously trying to, it's like that's not that, he's not cool with that, so he will then come forward with quite an intimidating "stop this now" to kind of all three of you, basically not getting in between but close enough to try and at least snap people out of what's happening right now.
Vanya, how are you taking being told to stop?
Vanya knows, like, he can read body language well, and he can, like, I don't know how the best to put this, almost like a dog coming to heel. There is a sense of, like, even though Vanya is trying to keep the most level-headed right now and get the team forward, but being confronted by someone who's usually level-headed and Vanya being the more passionate one, having to try and now keep his emotions in check, but having someone be like, look, stop, really helps Vanya to like release some of that tension. Having someone else kind of just putting the pin on it, and Vanya would be like, agreed. Look, Azakar, we can sort this out later, but right now, everyone needs a safe space.
Do you agree, Azakar?
Azakar's still holding on to your coat. He's probably getting more angry how level-headed you're being and being commanded to stop as well by Cal. You can see his teeth are gnashing as he's still trying to sort of process what is the best thing to do. As he lets go of your coat and doesn't storm far away from the group, but sort of just storms away and sort of has his gaze away from you, just sort of looking out into the distance. Just probably quite angry and quite ashamed of himself as well.
In which case, how does it feel to watch these people you idolize, Alfric, literally at each other's throats?
I was just thinking that I think this is the first time he's ever seen any of you. I mean, no one here is human, but be people rather than the storybook characters he's kind of made you all in his mind. And I think as you turn and storm away, you just hear from the back just this sort of half hysterical little laugh from Alfric. In the worst opportune moment. We're all just a bit shit at this, aren't we?
This is all part of being an explorer. There's pretty bits and not so pretty bits.
Is it?
But you will get used to it.
Is it? I mean, almost getting eaten by a lava thing and going back in time and...
You're a stupid child! You stupid child! You should have stayed!
Vanya turns around. Azakar, that's not fair to the kid.
Thank you, music change. Oh. Rayri, how are you feeling about Azakar's outburst?
Don't like it when Daddy's mad. I think just Rayri just finds any of this quite difficult because I think she just tries to be happy and sort of like joyful as much as she can to kind of just jostle on life, and it's just when it finally comes to a head, it's just kind of like I don't know what to do now. I just rely on being silly, and I can't rely on being silly in this moment. So I think as this is all just Azakar, like I think she knows that Azakar needs some time to think, so she'll look at Vanya and Alfric and just kind of sort of jostle them towards her and be like, I think it'll be good if maybe we should go and see if we can find somewhere to stay now, and maybe Cal and Azakar can stay here. She just kind of looks at Cal in the kind of you're the only hope to maybe bring something, do something at this point. You're the only other trusted adult here. So she's like, oh, maybe now's the time to go. It just kind of starts just kind of like toddling off towards the rock outlook, just kind of like trying to move them off.
Vanya will take heed and try to usher Alfric and say, "It's okay, Alfric." And I turn back and look at Cal and Azakar is like, "I think we could all do with walking off our emotions. Let's go." And I try to almost try and be like a comforting hand in, but I think even Alfric could feel this slight whinge of adrenaline in his hand whilst he's trying to be comforting.
Alfric, you've just been quite forcefully chastised, and now everyone's still kind of telling you what to do. Where is your head now?
I think Azakar's just said all the things that Alfric believes very much, and sort of has been for quite a while about himself. And I think he kind of pushes that down, grabs it, pushes it down. It's like, yes, right, yes, okay. And he forces himself out of the grip and kind of wobbly marches ahead of the direction that they're going.
In which case, as you sort of follow after Vanya and Rayri, there's perhaps a quick glance over your shoulder to Cal and Azakar. You find yourself sort of alone with your thoughts. And then you hear this internal monologue. They don't trust you. They don't value you. They think you are a failure. And as you kind of hear this kind of voice in your head, you look to the other two, and Rayri and Vanya are most likely walking somewhat silently, but they don't seem like Vanya's ears haven't perked up, for example. When everything is on the line, can you trust them? The voice says in your head. How are Cal and Azakar getting on?
I feel like once the other three have gone, Cal will not stand close. I think he will allow Azakar his space. But I don't think he'll even face him necessarily. I think he'll be standing, looking off, looking at the others. And he will just say, what we went through in the temple Making those decisions were some of the hardest things I've had to do. I was trying to protect us and get us home. All I want to do now is rip that dragon into pieces. We can't change what's happened. We can only move forward. And if you want to be angry at me and not at them. It was not their fault. They did not know. They have not experienced the war as we did.
As you say this to Azakar, you feel this gnawing sense of doubt in the back of your mind. Protect them. Protect them. Like you protected Pendry. And the voice in your head says nothing more.
Thanks for that, Dan. That's great.
Azakar's gonna... That last line that you said, where they didn't experience the war like we did. He is going to... He's going to take a big breath and exhale and go... They are young. They are foolish. But you are right. They didn't. We should have... I should have been a better guiding light for them. I should have seen this coming. Aya told me this was coming. I should have done more.
As you respond to Cal, but what would it matter if you did? You failed your men in the war, and now you fail them again. Are you really worthy of Aya's blessing? And the voice fades away.
Cool.
Cal? Is there just an awkward silence between bros?
I think Cal will nod. And he will try. I think he's trying to gather his old self back, and I think hearing the voice as well, and the mention of Pendry, for a horrible second, Cal does not look like himself. But luckily, I don't think these two are actually looking at each other. I feel like, when you're talking in the car and you're facing forward and having a very intense conversation, that is the equivalent of what's happening here. But they're not looking at each other, so I don't think they're seeing these reactions to the voice. And Cal just very quietly says, I think we were both young and foolish once. I know I was. And there is still time to continue to guide them. We are still alive. And they are still alive. And the war is over. In some part. Maybe not for us. Maybe it never will be. But they don't have to deal with the same things. What we can do is show them a good way of life, and that's all I've been trying to do whilst they've been with us. We need to get them home.
Switching to the other three. Vanier, Rayri, Alfric, you are currently sort of like doing your best to scale like a rocky ramp up the side of this mountain to get to some sort of higher ground. Vanier, you're on the lookout for whatever you can collect that will not only burn but will burn for long enough to create a campfire, perhaps find a rocky outcrop that can provide shelter, for argument's sake. And describe to me real quick how you helped one of these two to keep up, in inverted commas.
I'm not so worried about Rayri's ability on these parts of the. She comes from similar backgrounds to myself.
Yeah.
It's more Alfred, who's obviously. I'm assuming, Alfred, you're probably quite distracted with your thoughts, and probably dealing with your own internal struggle. And although Vanya wants to support in that front, Vanya's also trying to keep the group going and to find at least somewhere safe so that we can then deal with these emotions. Mm-hmm. So instead it's more like, whilst Alfred's so busy with what's going on in their mind, Vanya's like trying to lend a hand as like maybe like trying to guide, like show which footholds to get onto, or if it looks like Alfred's struggling a little bit, just give a helping hand, but trying to not offer too much assistance just in case Alfred doesn't want the help, but it's more of a I'm here if you need me type of vibe, but also step there. It's safer. In which case,
as like Vanya, as it's kind of clear that every so often you're kind of glancing over to sort of like help Alfric, Rayri, you have noticed that Vanya is keeping an eye on Alfric and just kind of leaving you to your own devices. When this seed of gnawing doubt grows in the back of your mind, they have shunned you. They see you as unsavable, nothing but fodder for destruction and discourse. They know that everything around you will burn, just like the temple, and they would focus their attention on saving others instead of you. Just like it always has been. How you feeling, Rayleigh? Stunned into silence.
Done. Just backwards tumble off the cliff. Never. Nobody needs me. I think it's like there's just rock beyond rock onto Rayleigh's shoulders, where she's just like the two people that are like the biggest rocks in her life are fighting, and they're not happy at her, and then she like looks over, and then there's like the new kid is getting help, and everyone's worried about what he's doing, and then it's just Rayleigh's just kind of like, well, I guess maybe I am just a useless little nothing, and maybe all I cause is problems, because I always just cause problems, and I try and be happy and funny and silly, but all I do is just heck things up. And I think she's just kind of watching these two just kind of, I think she just is getting like slower and slower, and just kind of just stands and just kind of in a kind of like, oh, if I just stood here, would they even notice that I wasn't moving anymore? And I wasn't even coming. They probably don't even care if I keep coming. And just kind of just sits, just stops and just sits on the rock, just halfway up, just defeated, just like,
says Vinny from below.
Yeah.
Well, as Rayleigh comes to a stop, it is noticed. And Vanya, you turn to see that Rayleigh has lagged behind, and now Alfric is the only one who's kind of kept up with you. And this pang of doubt creeps into your mind as Rayleigh presents herself as almost like a weak link, and and as you look at Rayleigh, who's falling behind, a thought fills your mind. Life is survival of the fittest. Those unable to keep up are nothing more than meat. It wouldn't be the first time you've made extreme choices to survive. And the thought kind of lingers in your mind before it seemingly wafts away.
Vanya, in reaction to this, bites hard on his lip to a point where there's blood trickling down slightly.
Poor Alfric. Why have you stopped walking?
Almost like trying to snarl or fight back at whatever is talking in his head, and realizing what he's doing, wipes it away and says, Alfric, just wait there a minute, I need to check on Rayleigh, and turns around, and I sort of drop down a few ledges back towards Rayleigh, which I'm sure old Vinny's probably there like yeah, and I try and get low down to Rayleigh's level. It's like, do you want to talk, buddy?
Rayleigh, oh, you're on mute, but as Rayleigh begins chatting to Vanier, I'm imagining kind of quietly, quietly enough that it's not in earshot of Alfric. Look how easily they crumble. This false sense of bravado, this misplaced display of feigned confidence, they are nothing but parchments in a wind. This is not what true power looks like, Alfric, and you know that as much as I. You shunned my gifts before. Do not make the same mistake a second time. And you acknowledge the voice in your head is that of Eindrith, the same voice you heard in Archmage Ulick's trophy room.
Buddy.
Yeah.
Alfric, are you saying buddy out loud, or like in your head?
No, absolutely not. No, that's Georgia. That's not.
Oh, okay.
Buddy.
It would not take much to earn my trust. It would not take much at all. All I need is time. And then you can stand at my side, bathing in the power of my shadow. Become the dragon scent you are meant to be. Fulfill your destiny.
I think Alfric will sort of go as if to start to say something to the voice, and then instead kind of trying to talk, sort of yell over it a little bit. He'll sort of shout down to Rory and Vanier, everything all right down there?
Can we respond?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's all right. Just a moment. Just checking on Rary, and just trying to hear what your response was that you were trying to say before you were muted. What is it?
I think Rary's just kind of sitting there with her little chin on her knees, just like, no, you guys just go on ahead. You just leave me here. I'm fine.
You know that I would never leave you.
Well, it's all falling apart, isn't it? Azakar's gonna leave. Cal's gonna leave. You're gonna leave. Everyone's gonna leave, and they we'll never adventure ever again.
And
He hates us. He says we're stupid kids.
he tries to offer a hand, this large, unlucky hand, like, no. Azakar might be speaking from angered emotion. I'm sure he doesn't really mean what he's saying. And even if he does, we all keep pent-up emotions inside ourselves and things we tell ourselves in our heads. But don't listen to that. You are valued. You are needed. You're one of us. I will stand by your side.
Gives me a little hug.
Come. Let's get back to Alfred before he slips.
Before he kills himself.
He's already hanging like one arm off the.
And rushes over.
Oops him up.
In which case, as Vanya and Rayri, as you kind of say this to one another and kind of rush back up to Alfred, like time passes, the sun overhead has reached its zenith and passed it. It is on its way, it's heading back towards the horizon to beckon in a new evening. And the five of you, plus Vinny, find yourselves gathered around a makeshift campfire, nestled under an overhanging rock that gives you some cover from the elements. You're having to keep where you're higher up to get a vantage point. You have acknowledged that these orange plains stretch on almost as far as the eye can see. And the gentle rolling of the terrain makes it almost look like a vast orange sea. And Alfric, as you kind of look at the explorers gathered around you, as you look at the other four, you can't help but get this feeling that perhaps you're not the only one hearing Eindrith in your head. But his offer still stands. So, firstly, as you all come together and like tempers have simmered down and there is a sense of kind of companionship rekindled, I will give the five of you a choice. You can either take a hope for the rekindling, but also a stress, or you can face your inner turmoil and fear, giving me a fear, but then the malaise will pass. So, Azakar, how did you finish processing everything that has happened today? Are you taking fear and hope and a stress, or are you giving me a fear?
Ooh. Upon hearing that voice in his head, his breathing almost goes back up to that sort of panic state. But then hearing Cal again is making him sort of realize that getting into that state is no good. Mm-hmm. So what sort of story-wise, sort of like what it means by taking each option?
So, like, if you take hope and stress, you're kind of taking solace in the rekindling of companionship between you and those you care about, at the cost of perhaps having that lingering doubt in your mind. Mm-hmm. Like, you've comforted the pain rather than you've comforted it. Yeah. Or you give me a fear because you have confronted the doubts in your mind and dispelled them by shining the light of truth and honesty on them.
I'm going to take a stress and I'm going to take a hope.
Okay. Rayri, are you comforting the pain or confronting it?
I think I'll give you the fear, and I think with the chat from Vanya, it's kind of, she realizes that actually there are people that love her and want to look after her, and maybe they're not all going to leave her and abandon her. I think just realizing that it only takes her just to stop for a second for Vanya to climb back down a mountain and go, "You're right." I think she's kind of gone, okay, maybe this big silly man does look out for me. So she's gonna, yeah.
Okay. Georgia, is Alfric comforting or confronting?
I think especially the last moment of the voice in his head has given him pause, and he's not been able to shake it. He's not been able to have that moment with anyone to dispel that sudden fear and that sudden doubt. So I will give you a fear.
Okay. Takes me up to 3. Vanya, comforting or confronting?
Oh, I'm mute.
Oh, you're on mute.
Whoops. Yeah, my whole thing with Vanya biting his lip and almost like snarling and roaring at his own head, like within his own head, was his own means of confronting it. He doesn't need comfort. He knows what he's done in the past, and he knows he's moved on. And so he, in this moment, while he's trying to do his best to comfort others, in his own mind, he is absolute in how he feels about the situation. And doubts may try to creep in, but he will just shout them away. Because he knows what he's done, and he lives with it.
Mm-hmm.
You have a fear.
Okay. And Cal, same question.
So I think with Cal, the voice speaks of long, long ago, when he was maybe slightly older than Alfric. And I think there's no sense in comforting that because it's been so long. It is more confronting it. And the way Cal decides to confront it is to not hide it anymore. So at the campfire, he tells his friends about the man he loved, who he lost before the war started. When he first was a bodyguard back in the capital of Elsewhere many years ago. And he's very thoughtful about it, and it's not a painful conversation either. He just explains that someone he loved died and he couldn't save them, and he's not going to let that happen again. And that is how he confronts his fear.
Okay. I'll take a 5th fear. As you dwell on what Cal has said, seeing a side of Cal that perhaps none of you had seen before, maybe has Azakar? Would Azakar have been privy to this, or no?
Don't think
Probably
so.
not,
No,
no.
this is all new
Okay.
to everyone here.
As a guy, in which case, yeah, you seeing Cal painted in this light that seems almost alien for Cal. The five of you find yourselves kind of peering up at the moon resting lazily overhead as these slightly glowing lava orbs kind of drift through the air. And as your attentions return to the campfire, you hear it crackling and sputtering as it cooks the meat of the beasts, the small critters that Vanya has been able to catch out in these plains. But then a slightly higher pitched crackle joins the chorus, and you see the flames of the fire begin to flicker more erratically. And as you peer up, a circle of silver begins to materialize just only a few paces away from your camp. And as this portal of silver runes opens, a white-haired Lorivar man in a grey tunic walks through, and Archmagister Meridius Redan looks at the five of you with relief in his eyes. "There you are," he says. I was worried when Ganis returned without you. It's taken me this long to locate you. Explorers, we need your help." And as the portal to Avamore behind him stays open, he looks at you imploringly, levelling the burden of responsibility upon your shoulders once more. "Will you follow me?" he says.
Sniff, sniff. Sniff, sniff. Does this scent smell familiar?
It does.
Okay.
It is the scent of Archmagister Meridius Redan. The Archmagister that you spoke to in Avamore before you left. The effectively the leader of the arcane magic users in the city of Avamore.
Yes.
I feel like... Sorry, have you got something to say?
No, go ahead.
I feel like Cal will look to Azakar to see how he feels about approaching this. As a kind of sign of, I trust what you're going to do. I feel like we're all in the same boat here.
What is happening?
Meridius looks a bit... he looks concerned. Ganis returned and said that the five of you were lost in the temple, but there was something about it that didn't sit right. I know the five of you better than that, and I know you wouldn't go out like chumps in some temple. But since I began my search to find you, Ganis has vanished somewhere within the city, and I fear that he is plotting something dangerous, and I need your help.
He holds unspeakable arcane power at the moment. He fooled us.
Then please, help me save our city.
Azakar will get up and follow.
So will Cal.
Bye.
Gonna stay in the wasteland. Bye.
I think Riri just kind of hops up, glad that they're not just going to be wallowing in self-pity. Got something to do now. And just kind of like, oh, the gang's all back together again. Kind of hops on Vinny and is just kind of like a little bit excited, though she feels like she shouldn't be, that at least we're doing something together that we're hopefully good at, you know.
Vanya?
Seeing as just Alfric still sat. Are you ready to continue to be an explorer?
I think Alfric will look up at him, climb to his feet with a little nod, and then sort of turn and kick sand into the fire before they head off towards the portal.
Okay. In which case, as the six of you plus Vinny step through the portal.
I take my meat.
As you pick up the snacks that have been cooking over the open campfire, and you step through the portal of Silver Runes back onto the streets of Avamore. We will call it there. Congratulations, everyone, on completing this episode of Tales from Elsewhere.
Yay.
Yay.
Everything was fine.
Yeah, we made it through lava trauma and emotional trauma. Yay.
You made it through so much that I think it would be prudent for me to say congratulations on reaching level 5.
Yes. Leveling up and emotional trauma. Yes.
Incredible. So you are you are heading back to Avamore. You are heading back to take the fight to the enemy, wherever that enemy may be, and you're gonna have even bigger guns and cannons in your repertoire to do it with. So yes, congratulations, everyone. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what shenanigans you want to present me with your new level ups. Yeah, because it's going to be it's going to be madness. So, if you enjoyed this, make sure to hit like if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe if you're on YouTube, or follow us if you're over on Twitch. We are doing live streams like this relatively regularly, and if this sort of thing has tickled your fancy, then we've got 2 complete campaigns in the Elsewhere setting for you to watch as well as loads of other sort of like side shows and side adventures, very much like Pugmire, which Nate is running for us. We've got a Warhammer 40k Wrath and Glory campaign in the pipeline. We've got campaign 3 of Explorers of Elsewhere coming out soon as well. We wouldn't want you to miss it out. So yeah, make sure you click all the things to make sure that you know when we're uploading new stuff. Thank you everyone for playing. Thank you everyone for watching. If you're watching this live, make sure to tune in on Saturday for the Pride Caf live stream that quite a few of us actually are going to be part of. And if we don't see you there, we will hopefully see you in the very near future. Thank you everyone. Bye 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 bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.